Right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here today for our event on student resource sharing here at NASP. I'm Zoe and I'm one of the graduate workers here, and I'm excited to share all of this great information with you. And for the people watching the recording, excited to have you all watch this afterwards. So, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. I've tried to break them down into a lot of different things, but we're going to start with some on-campus resources. So obviously you want to start with the Native American Support Program. If you haven't heard of us before, the mission of NASP is to assist students in achieving their academic goals, increase admissions and retention rates, and engage and inform the Chicago and UIC community of Native American cultures by providing academic and career coaching, culturally relevant activities, and creating a safe and supportive space for Native students. So we do a lot of things here at NASP, including academic coaching. We have some financial assistance. We do a lot of work with the local community here. We're part or a non-voting member organization of the Chicago American Indian Community Collaborative, which is a group of more than 15 different Native organizations here in Chicago. And we also do a lot of cultural programming as well. So just as an example of some of the events that we've done over this past academic year, for Indigenous Peoples Day, we did an allyship workshop. So non-Native people were able to come and learn more about how to support Native and Indigenous populations. We've done weaving workshops. We did an Indigenous Foodways event where we had one of our local Native chefs come in and talk to us about food sovereignty. We've done beadwork workshops. We've learned how to make Cherokee style baskets. And then we've also done some more educational things, so about Afro-Native history. And then we've also had a book club as well. NASP is part of the Office of Student Success and Belonging. So we are part of a group of a lot of other great departments or units who do a lot of other great work. So places like the Academic Center for Excellence, the African American Academic Network, Asian American Student American Program, CHANCE, LATIS, Las Ganas, TRIO, and undergraduate research. And we all work together to make sure that students thrive and that they succeed here at UIC. On the other hand, there are also cultural centers, and you can see the list of them here, including the Arab American Cultural Center, Asian American, Black, Disability, Gender and Sexuality Center, Latino Cultural Center, and the Women's Leadership and Resource Center. And again, all of them put on really great programs. If you're looking to build community, just want some mentorship, or want to collaborate on research, these are all great places to go to. I also have the Odette Manon Health Equity Center, which is not a cultural center, but it is a center on the west side of campus that is really meant to promote health equity. And they are also a really great resource if you are interested in it. Again, we're kind of going all over the place with resources that we have available, but this is Many Mentors, and this is available through the University of Illinois system. And if you're somebody who maybe finances aren't really your thing, you have just come to college and you don't really know how to budget, or you are a grown up like me and you still don't really know how to budget, this is a really great and free resource that you can get, where you have a money mentor. You can set personal goals, whether that is budgeting, having different financial goals, building your savings, managing your credit, and they give you tailored experience to what exactly it is that you're looking for. I've personally used it and I found it to be incredibly helpful. And they have mentors who speak both English and Spanish. Student government. So there are two kind of government structures here at UIC for students. The first is undergraduate student government, and the second is the graduate student council. And both of these serve kind of different purposes, but overall really are meant to be a way to show representation for administrators, kind of show what the needs of students are. It's also a really great way to just meet other people outside of maybe the people that you take your classes with, or I'm a graduate student, so it was great to meet people outside of my department. And they also usually typically give a lot of really great information about what is going on at the university and what resources are available to you. So highly recommend looking into student government, especially if you're thinking about leadership and how to grow that skill. Kind of in that same vein are student organizations. There are hundreds of student organizations here at UIC. I've heard of everything from Yarn Club to Cheese Club. The ones that I have listed here in particular for Native and Indigenous students are the Indigenous Student Alliance, which is specifically for undergraduate students. There is the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos, Hispanics, and Native Americans in Science, or SACNAS. They have a graduate chapter here. And then there's also the Indigenous Graduate Student Association. And typically over um, the past few years and really decades, Indigenous Students Alliance in particular has really done a lot of great work to bring visibility to Native students on campus and really just to have general visibility for Native student staff and faculty here. Next is the UIC library. So this kind of might be like, okay, yeah, duh. Of course, the library probably has resources to help me, but they really do have a lot of great things that they can do to support you in your work, whether you're an undergraduate or you're a graduate student working on your thesis or your dissertation. One of the things that they can help with is requesting articles. We have a lot of access to a lot of different articles out there, but sometimes we just don't have it. There's actually a way for you to request it through something called Iliad. They can also help you with your research. So if you have a particular topic that you're working on, so maybe it's a final paper, you can see the screenshot on the screen here. But they can help you to help with everything from your writing to citations to actually managing your data. And that is part of the work that the librarians do to support you. The one other thing that I will plug about the library is a class that they have called Lib 573, which is a data management class. It's only for 8 weeks, so you don't have to do it for the entire semester, but it's a really valuable tool for learning about different ways to manage your research, and it's interdisciplinary, so you don't have to want to be a librarian to take it. You can be in any discipline, and it's definitely one of the best classes that I've taken here. Moving on to some of the cool places on campus. The first place that I like to visit is the Atkins Garden, and this is on the West Campus. Probably should have mentioned that I'm in the School of Public Health, so I spend some time over there. But they have a really beautiful medicinal garden over there, and a lot of the plants there, they have stories or they tell you about what exactly the plants are and what they're used for, especially when it's still warm out and it hasn't gotten particularly cold. It's a nice place to just kind of sit relaxed, take a break. This isn't really a study spot, but it is a really nice place to go. So I don't go to the gym all the time, but when I do go to the gym, I definitely prefer the West Campus gym. First of all, they just replaced all of the equipment in there maybe a year ago. So all of the equipment is super nice. And also because it's on the west side of the campus, it's definitely not as busy as east side of campus. So you can go pretty much any time of the day, even after 5 o'clock, and you can always find a machine to use. Again, highly recommend the West Campus gym. It's fantastic. These are some additional study spots. These were submitted. So we have the BSB cafeteria specifically after 3 o'clock, and then also the circle reading room in daily library, which is a silent spot. But the person who submitted this said that, especially for the library, but really the cafeteria too, they have really nice light. It's a really good place to sit and work. So you're not having to deal with like fluorescent lighting. So I really appreciate that because I don't always like sitting under fluorescence or seeing that. So having light to study can be really good. And it seems like you can do one where it's kind of silent and then another one if you want kind of more hustle and bustle. The last on-campus resource that I wanted to mention, and this is more so for graduate students, but are certificates. So there are a lot of certificate programs that you can be a part of while you're a graduate student. So these are just kind of three that I have listed here that I have done or I know people have done. If you are interested in being a teacher and being faculty, the Graduate College has Foundations of College Instruction, so you can get a certificate and really prepare yourself to be a faculty member. In urban planning and affairs, they have geospatial analysis and visualization. So if you're interested in maps and mapping and doing that kind of visualization work, there's a certificate in that. I have that one. And then also in education, specifically education psychology, they have the MESA certificate. And this is really if you want to beef up your quantitative skills, your statistics skills, evaluation skills. All of the classes are online and they're asynchronous. So even if you already have kind of a heavy workload, all of the classes are really flexible and you still learn a lot. So you can see that there's a link to where you can see all the certificate programs that are available, but these are the three that I definitely would plug. Next up are some off-campus resources. So I'm going to start with, and I always try to do things that are free. I know that we are all balling all the budget. So one of the first things that are free are museums. So most of these museums, or if they're not free, are free on some days. It's specifically for Illinois residents, but if you show student ID for UIC, it will typically, they'll let you in anyway. So Lincoln Park Zoo is free every single day. The Field Museum is free specifically on Wednesdays with a student ID. Adler Planetarium is also free on Wednesdays from 4 to 10 p.m. AIC, or the American Institute of Chicago, as a UIC student, you can also go there any single day. The Shed Aquarium, they have select days throughout the year that you're able to go for free as a student. So definitely just keep an eye out on their website. The Dry House Museum has discounted tickets. And then one of the things that I learned recently is that if you have a Bank of America bank account or if you have a Bank of America credit card, the first weekend of every single month, you get free museum tickets to a bunch of museums, not just here in Illinois, but across the US. So, for example, you can get into the MSI or the Museum of Science and Industry on Sundays for free. And also, they will give you a ticket to whatever special exhibit they have going on. So, right now, the one they have is specifically for Spider-Man. So, a lot of really good ways to get out, see the city if you're especially if you're not from Chicago, and even if you are and you just haven't done these things, you can now do them and you can do them for free. Another one, which was news to me, but has been really interesting to learn about, is that you can actually get discounted bowls tickets to if you're a student. And they're actually really good seats too. Like you can be pretty much like behind the hoop in like the 100s for not super expensive. But if you just go to nba.com/bowls/ticket/student pass, I'm not gonna lie, it takes like a couple of things to like jump through hoops and like make sure that you're able to be qualified for it. But once you do, you're in it. Again, if your friends don't really know what you want to do this weekend, if they're playing your home team, really easy way to go to a Bulls game and for much cheaper than you probably would pay otherwise. Nature, especially when the semester is really going, things are getting really hard. It can always be really grounding for me to go out, walk around, and explore all the different parts of Chicago. So these are a bunch of places on the north side and the south side. There's a few that are on the west side too, but some of my favorites are the 606, which is near Logan Square, Schiller Woods, the Chicago Botanic Garden. Here at NASP, we also have a pretty good connection with the Chicago Botanic Garden. So if that's ever something that you want to do, just let us know and we can try and organize maybe a back tour for you. Um, Promontory Point is obviously a big one. And the other one that I'll plug is honestly right here on UIC's campus. Last week we had somebody from the Forest Preserve come out and do a nature walk with us. So we're here in uh, OSSB, but right around the corner from us, there's a park. And even within that one park, like right here on campus, there were so many different trees, there's so much wildlife, there's so much to learn. So even if you can't venture too far away from campus, there are definitely some good spots around here that you can still get out, take a breather, and enjoy the nature with. Obviously, because we're in the Native Support Program, I had to put some Native specific resources in here as well. I had previously mentioned that NASP is part of the Chicago American Indian Community Collaborative, and these are just a few of the other organizations that are also part of that collaborative. So we have the American Indian Health Service of Chicago, we have the Newberry Museum, Northwestern, the American Indian Center of Chicago, Trickster Cultural Center. We also have several Native nations that have satellite offices here. So Ho-Chunk, Menominee, it's not listed here, but Tunica Biloxi is there as well. And we also have CIMC, the California Indian Manpower Consortium, and they specifically help with getting placement into employment opportunities. So if that is something that you are kind of getting towards the end of your career here at UIC, we can definitely help you with that. And again, all these are part of a collaborative that we are already a part of, so we can definitely connect you with all these different things. There are also a lot of national organizations that are supportive of Native students and of the work that Native people are doing as faculty and staff as well. Things like Native Forward Scholars Fund and Cobell Scholarship are two of the largest organizations that provide scholarship funding to Native students. These are typically for people who are descendants or enrolled citizens of federally or state recognized tribes, and they typically ask for some type of documentation to ensure that you are part of one of those tribes. We also have things like ACES, which is the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, SACNAS, which I mentioned that there's a graduate chapter here, and the National Indian Education Association. None of these require that you be Native to be a part of them. Nobody's going to ask you for documentation to be a part of any of them, but all of them are really great organizations, especially ACES and NIEA for talking about higher education and how to be supported in that. ACES is definitely more towards Native people in STEM, but they have so many great resources, especially around careers after the fact. So I highly recommend that. And then the last one I have on here is United Southern and Eastern Tribes, or USET. They're not specifically education focused, but they do provide scholarship funding to citizens of the tribes that are member organizations of their organization. So just another place to kind of look for funding. And also on the NASP website under resources, you can see all of these that are listed here and a bunch of other ones that are nationally supporting Native students. All right, continuing to move on. I also want to talk about some software and some things that have been really helpful for me as I have been working on my dissertation and really through undergrad on keeping myself organized. So the first one is task managers. There are a lot out there. Some of them are really fancy, some of them are really simple. But if you're somebody who likes to have fields and tags and you like to upload, videos or whatever it is to it, these are the two that I have used both in my professional and in my personal space. So Notion is both a note-taking app, but it is also a task manager. It can be a little bit clunky to set up, but that's also because it's free. However, because you are a student, you can get the next kind of tier up for as long as you're a student for free, and it has a few other cool features in it. But you can kind of see this example here where somebody set up their management by, the class, what the name of the assignment was, if they've read it, what type of class it is. You can put links and all these other things. So that one is definitely super customizable in terms of what it is you need to track. If you're applying for scholarships, you can use it for that. If you're applying for jobs, you can have another task manager for that. Again, a lot of different things that you can do with that, in addition to also using it as a note taker. There's also Asana. That one, the free version has definitely enough to get you going if that's something that you need. It's pretty simple. You can have different projects. So whether that be for a class or whether it be for, one project for one class, you can be pretty flexible in that. I would say not as many features as Notion, excuse me, but in the professional world, a lot of people use Asana. So if you kind of wanted to get a jump start, you could do that too. Another one that is kind of, I don't think people think that it's important, but it's actually super helpful. I think especially in Outlook. I don't know if anyone has gone to search for an email and you've used the exact word and Outlook says, oh, actually it doesn't exist. And then you have to go and search and it actually was there the whole time. Having email folders is very helpful. So whether you're using Gmail, whether you're using Outlook, Gmail specifically calls folders labels. So you label it however you want to, versus with Outlook, you have a specific folder. But highly recommend doing that. I have everything from the academics that I do. I have things for work. I can tag things for kind of like odd kind of jobs that I have and I want to do. But email folders are super helpful for keeping yourself organized and making sure that you haven't missed anything, you've responded to all of your emails. And you can, again, customize it however you feel is best for you. Textbook and article PDFs. I am not going to tell you to go and look for illegal things. I'm not going to tell you to go out and do that, but there are things that exist out there. If that is not your jam, which again, I'm not saying that you should do that, but also our friends over at ASAP, so the Asian American Student Academic Program, they actually have a textbook library that you can apply for. So if you have looked high and low for textbooks, or you have looked in the library and you just cannot find the textbook that you're looking for, or all of them have been checked out, ASAP actually has a program where you can get out a textbook, and they will help fund it for you for the entire semester. So there are always creative ways to find textbooks and article PDFs, but did want to plug our friends over at ASAP. When you can't find the article that you need, whether it's through the internet, whether it's through the UIC library, sometimes you find a paper and you're like, this is fantastic. Like, this fits exactly what I've been looking for. Where do I find more of these? There are tools nowadays that can help you with that. So first of all, Google Scholar is really helpful for really just getting kind of like an initial look at what exactly you're looking for. You can put in some keywords and find exactly what you're looking for. Um, you're welcome, Jennifer. And then also Connected Papers and Research Rabbit. So these are two AIs, and I will say that I'm not a huge lover of AI, but I do love these two websites. So what they do is if you have a DOI, or if you have a link or the name of a paper, you can put it in and it will tell you all of the papers that it has cited, but also it will give you a bunch of papers that have cited it. So it automatically kind of creates this network of papers that have connected to one another, and you can click on them. You can see it will link you pretty much always directly to the article, or it will give you the Google Scholar link, or PubMed, or wherever it's located. But again, a really good way, if you found a really good paper that you really like, then you can go from there and see, okay, what else is out there without having to manually go through and look through all the citations. In the same realm of references, especially as you get into master's programs, PhD programs, you very quickly find out that there are a lot of articles out there, and there's can be really difficult to actually figure out how to manage all of these things. Again, back to kind of the data management piece. But these are some reference managers that I have used before. I use Mendeley. I like Mendeley, but also I've been using Mendeley since I was getting my master's. It is definitely not perfect, but that is the one that I use. I've also used Zotero. I think if you are collaborating on different work, I think that Zotero is probably one of the better ones, because you can kind of have like group citations that everyone uses. But RefWorks, EndNote, again, it's never too late to start using a reference manager, but it's also never too early either. In all of these, you can group things together however you want to. So whether it's by topic, whether it's by class, and it's super helpful, especially when you're going back and saying, oh yeah, like didn't I read an article from a year ago, 2 years ago? I can't really remember it. Being able to just type it into your reference manager and having a bunch of things pop up, so much easier than having to go back and go through Google Scholar again, go through PubMed and try to figure out what exact search term you were looking for. Yes, I see some love for Zotero. Okay. Next one I have up next for software is Adobe subscriptions. So Adobe includes, Photoshop, Acrobat, whatever else Adobe products you use. A lot of people that do GIS work, or um, design, those kinds of things, they use Adobe. If you are having financial hardship, you can actually request that you get a discounted license, and by discount, they mean free. All you have to do is go and submit the form. So this is on the U of I web store. So you type in Adobe Creative Cloud, student personal use. There's a form that you fill out. You say, I have financial hardship and I need to use this for this academic year. And I have never been asked for proof of having financial hardship. So if you have the funds, great, go ahead and buy it. But also, if this is something that you need and you don't have the funding for it, this is a really easy way to get access to Adobe. Next are online flashcards. So the two that I have up here are Note and Quizlet. Quizlet for a very long time has been known as one of the best ways to do online flashcards, but especially nowadays, they have been honestly a little bit stingy on how many flashcards you can do and how many folders you can do. So I have recently moved over to Note, which has all of the functions of Quizlet, but doesn't have all of the paid barriers to it. Does have a few more ads, but if you put an ad blocker on your computer, then you'll be fine. But also note you can import all of your old Quizlets. So if you don't want to create all of them again, which you probably don't, there's a really easy import. But again, online flashcards, whether you want to make your own or see if people have already made them, there's two great softwares that you can use for free. Draw.io. So again, this might be more so for, I've used it more for my graduate and more than my undergraduate work, but you can make pretty much any structure that you can think of, net that you can think of using the software. Again, it is free, but I've used this to make theoretical models. I've used it to make logic models, and it's a really easy and clean way to make models and move them around. I know some people like to use PowerPoint, but this one you can very easily draw arrows. You can download it as a PDF, as a JPEG, as a GIF, a bunch of different ways that you can move all these things around. And again, it's been super helpful for me in a lot of different projects, both personal and professional. So highly recommend this. The next one that I have is Grammarly. I know that we all, we're none of us are great at at doing all these things. But Grammarly you can put into your web browser. You can put it on Word. I will be honest, sometimes it can be a little too much for me, so I do turn it off. But we do get it as a resource through UIC to help with grammar, spell check, plagiarism. And really just overall having clarity and consciousness or conscientiousness, excuse me. So again, another tool that is offered by UIC outside of just the regular spell check to help you. All right. Now I just have a few other like miscellaneous tips and tricks that I have picked up along the way that I felt helpful, and also I've put in some other ones that people submitted to. So the first one that I have is you need a budget. So this is my favorite budgeting tool. So earlier I had mentioned that Money Mentors is here for UIC students, all of the University of Illinois students to help get your finances together. This is one of the tools that I found when I was using Money Mentors to help me with it. You get a year of it for free as a student. Again, once you are no longer, or once your year is up, you do have to pay for it. I am gonna be honest, you have to pay for it. But for me, this is like my favorite budgeting tool, and it's free for students for a year. So highly recommend. Next is Teleparty. If you really miss your friends or you miss your family back home, Teleparty, especially during the pandemic, was the best thing ever. I still use it, but you can watch all these different streaming things. You just have to make sure that you and the person that you're watching with both have the streaming platform, but everything like Netflix, HBO Max, Prime, Disney, YouTube, Hulu, like you can watch TV together. And especially if you have like a big group of friends, you have a chat and you can all talk about it at the same time. If you really like Love Island, this is a really good way to watch Love Island from afar with your friends. So Teleparty, it's a free extension on Google Chrome. Use it. Next, I have the Transit app. transit app does not just work here in Chicago. It's worked internationally for me to figure out when the next bus, the next train is going to come. You can put in your actual location and it will help you to get there. It gives you all of the closest trains to you, buses to you. And if you give them a specific bus that you want to go to, it will tell you when you need to leave by so that you make sure that you make it. But if you do want to download the transit app, these are a bunch of the lines that are um, like around here UIC and you would use probably pretty often. So the 7 bus will get you across East and West campus. The 60 bus will get you across East and West. The 157 too, and also the blue line, which is mostly here on the East campus, and the pink line, which is mostly for West campus. Planning and time management. I feel like, I've given several tools for planning and time management, but something that 2 people actually submitted was just physical planners, which I don't, I have a semi-physical planner. I have an iPad and I will write notes in said iPad with like my notes app. But having a physical planner, this specific brand Papier was mentioned and that there's a 10% discount through Student Bean. So whole other tip within the tip. They also have buy one, get one offers. So if you want to share the planner with a friend, Google Calendar, so putting things within your Google Calendar. It will give you reminders if you want to. Someone had mentioned the Remind app as a good one. I haven't personally used it. But another app that I use for time management is called Now and Then, and it's literally just a timer. So I have a bunch of different activities that I do. So it could be, schoolwork or graduate work, or maybe I'm working on a manuscript, and I will start the timer. And it's helpful for me because I can't do multiple things at once. Like I'm either working on a school task or I'm working on a work task. I can't pick 2 things that I'm doing at the same time. So I have to focus my attention. And then also I can have some time blindness in a good way and in a bad way. Sometimes I'll be sitting and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've definitely been working for at least 3 hours and I'll look down and it's been 15 minutes. Or kind of the opposite, like I will be working on something and time will be going and going and going, and I'll say, oh, like maybe I should take a break now. And then I'll look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been working on this for hours. So it really is a good way of thinking about like how long are tasks actually taking for me to do and helping me to make sure that my focus is where it should be. This is the last one that was submitted to me. But this one, oh, and I see that you're here, Cicely. But United Airlines, and it's actually ending soon. It's ending at the end of this year, but they have a young adult discount. So if you're between 18 and 23 years old, you can get 5% off of their economy or their basic economy fare. So if you want to go home and see your family, or if you're trying to plan for spring break, then you can get 5% off. And this is the only airline that I saw that had anything like this. But the program ends on the 31st, but you can book flights for after that date. They just have to be done by December 31st. So I believe those are all of the tips that I have for you all today. Yes. But thank you all for joining. I see that there have been several other things that have been added in the chat, and I'm going to put this up on the NASP website, so both the slides and then also the recording, so anyone can go back and reference this, and I'll definitely add these other ones around. I did mention the interlibrary loan. Kaplan, yes, UIC has access to RefWorks, and then we also have LinkedIn Learning, which I actually did not know, so I appreciate that one too. But I will pause and see if anybody has any questions. But otherwise, I will stop the recording. I'll probably hang around in case anybody has any questions or anything like that, but I will pause. All right. Well, thanks again for joining. And like I said, I appreciate you all coming. And if there's any other resource that you think of, feel free to send it my way and we'll be sure to add it to the website. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week.